Alright, so here we are. We're 2 days after our Friday Derby, and as I was looking at the car yesterday, and then even my wife, becoming the Derby wife she is, said to me, "Why aren't you running it again?" And I'm like, well, I said up front, I said it's actually not touched. That's why I was so mad whenever, you can even see in the video, whenever I upload it if you watch, how I was mad that they timed me out. I'm like, guys, I'm out here in a swamp, still got a completely untouched motor, as you can see, pressed in a little bit here, more over here, and again, got some decent damage, bent, but it seems like the strut's still intact in its original state. I think the whole axle itself has been, but the CV shaft's still driving, still turning. It's just kind of at an odd angle, a little bit of damage here. I'm going to kind of beat out a little. And again, you can see that spray foam, I think, cushioned a little bit from just the sheet metal getting to the plastic computer there, but motor untouched. Untouched. Pulleys up front, untouched. Look at that. I didn't even get a scrape on my rebar. So I was really annoyed that they tapped me out. Like, I wanted to junk it, and I would have been second. It was literally 5 seconds later after they timed me out, saying I wasn't hitting hard enough in the swamp that I was dragging my back end through. And I mean, obviously I was obviously I was hitting the whole Derby, but I was just like, well, I mean, the back end's pretty smashed up, and the amount of work to do it, I'm like, I'll probably just scrap it. But yeah, I think we're gonna as you can see, get her bent in. This is my homemade come along, if you will, just using the kind of heavier duty car hauler ratchet straps. I did notch the rear end here. I cut my reciprocating saw there to weaken that some, so I can kind of pull this in, and I'll do the same up here with this, kind of tuck this in, and then I'm going to bend down, probably just get it at the arms there of the trunk, and crush it down, hit it with the sledge. And then I'm going to take the sledge, I'm going to back her off and take the tires off, beat up under the fenders to get them away from the tires as much as I can. And this one over here, again, you can see the car, this wheel is slightly bent in a little, but still really riding straight. This one's got a little bit of a hitch to it, but again, getting it on the trailer, I had to back it back up, and it went pretty straight. It didn't go perfectly straight. This tire's got a big chunk in it, but I got spare tires. That's not a problem. So again, I'm going to take it off, beat in a decent amount there to get it off the tire, at least to start. And this back end, whenever this folds in, the trunk comes down, it's going to be about to here. Now, it's obviously not going to be a fresh trunk, but I mean, that's all beat up sheet metal, so it's not going to go too much farther. If anything, it might be, tougher, at least at the end of the space there. Beat this out. She's got another run in her. Now, what I think I'm going to do, and my wife mentioned this, she said, why don't you let somebody else run it if you don't want to? I'm like, it's not that I don't want to run. I just have a couple other cars in the property back there that I've got lined up for the couple derbies that, between us camping and just doing stuff with the kids over summer, that I was planning on running. And there's no saving cars till next year because they're old cars, and you do that and it's likely not going to start next year. So, and I'm not mechanical enough to get them to run. So with this one, I'm going to try to beat this end back here now. Just clean up the front corner here, try to tap inside both fenders here, get this sheet metal out a little bit. This is just plastic, rip it off. And this, interesting enough, this is plastic. I never knew that. Like, this is your metal. The front fenders over the wheel here, they were just plastic. So yeah, this girl, I think she's got, I mean, the motor's untouched. So I said we got to. So I'm going to re-weld my cage after I beat things out. Actually learned something with welding my cage to should make it stronger for the next run. And here we go. Let's get this girl so we can get a first-time derby person, someone I know or someone in the area that's interested. I'll haul it to and from the derby for them, and we'll let them dive into it for the first time and have some fun. So here we go. A little bit of a abbreviated just video mention. I'm going to knock in that back end here. I'll get the video back and show my progress. But yeah, she fired right up again. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So here we go. So just a little addition to the end of this kind of post-derby run video. You can see I've changed the position of the vehicle from where it was in the driveway. And Yeah, we are going to bend this baby back in. I'll make a couple videos if you like to watch these. I'll have it up here after this one, and we're going to get her bent back in. The motor is untouched. The radiator, and you can see the rebar isn't even touched up front. Some damage here, as I mentioned, but still CV shafts grabbing and still steers. So we're going to bend this baby back in, and before we scrap it, we are going to see if we can find somebody in our area that's never run a Derby but it's interested, and I'm going to haul it to and from the Derby for them. You know, I've been fortunate to have a lot of guys in the area, Derby guys, help me, even guys online that I've never met help me, and say, you know what, let's try to grow the sport a little bit here. Get somebody that's interested but doesn't know how to do it maybe, or doesn't have the time to do it, or doesn't have a truck or trailer to do it, and you know, let's get them in a car and see how they do. So yeah, just a little addition here. We'll get a video up of the second attempt, or pre-run I should say, attempt at or pre-run, and see what we got. Alright, so I decided to make this video, even though I think it's, you know, maybe a little bit of overkill, if you will, for a how-to Derby video. But again, we're demolition noobs here, and if you're like me, you might have just not thought of this, or, you know, maybe it just didn't come across your mind. But a come-along, right? This tool, kind of expensive for really all you're using it for, especially with Derby cars, great to have. Well, in essence, what you see here is me using my car hauler, kind of heavy-duty ratchet straps, as a come-along. So this was a Derby car I ran Friday, ran great. Still has another run in her rather, but this right side here, the trunk folded up beautifully. You can see the trunk kind of popped as I was getting smashed in. So it's up, and then this bar was actually over here almost behind the tire, this kind of rear part of the frame here. So what I did, as I don't have a come-along, I took my heavy-duty ratchet straps and I cut with my reciprocating saw kind of where I want to kind of tuck it in. I didn't cut all the way through, obviously, to where it completely detaches, but I cut pretty much the entirety of that frame. And then I got my ratchet strap in the bottom here, anchored it to my trailer, as you can see there, and I've been ratcheting it about, you know, it takes a while, just like again a come-along, and pulling it. First pulled the kind of frame bar back. Now I've got the second one up on the sheet metal here of the kind of trunk and the rear fender, and I'm pulling it back in to where I can get it kind of as far as I can with the ratchet straps. And whenever I kind of can't find a place to anchor, or I'm tucked in enough, I'll take the sledge and I'll finish it off. And then once I have that in, the trunk, same thing. I'm going to take the trunk lid there, arms, probably use a reciprocating saw to at least notch them some. I don't want to completely cut them because I want it to come down, but I don't want the trunk to be kind of flopping, so we'll see exactly how I have to do that. But I'm going to pull that down. So yeah, kind of a homemade come-along, if you will, just using the ratchet straps. I mean, they're heavy duty, but they're not super expensive, and reciprocating saw, again, to just notch where I want to bend it, weaken a little bit. And now that's literally the frame, the back of the frame of the car, even though she's rusted out, that I'm folding in. So yeah, again, if you're like me, you know, demolition noob, I'm new to this, but kind of a silly video, but like, hey, if it helps anyone out there, you know, good for it. So there you go, kind of a homemade come along, getting your Derby car ready for run number 2, 3, or whatever it might be. Good stuff. All right, so here's our progress using the ratchet straps as my kind of homemade come along. You can see we got her pulled pretty far back in. Probably could pull it a little farther. I just stopped for a moment, took the sledge as well, kind of was beating in at it to get it pressed. Again, the trunk, I'm going to kind of fold down, try to fold down as much as I can. It's not going to be perfectly flush, but just kind of to get it down and make extra cushion there. So coming along good there, and you can see, I mean, it's going to have not a big rear end, but it's going to have a packed, tough rear end that's going to be, I mean, about a foot and a half past the tires. Not great, but you know, still something there. I paused and came up here, tore off just the plastic that was underneath, and again, this just covering here was all plastic too instead of the metal. It's the first I've seen that in the cars I've had. But I was trying to see what we got in here, and it turns out the shock I'm not too worried about, because I'm going to take the tire off and I'm going to take my sledge and I'm going to beat that kind of bottom part of the strut. Sorry, my allergies are kicking up here. Up in there, so that it's probably not going to have much space, but it's going to have some space. But this guy, I believe it's the steering arm is what you'd call it. You can see it's already rubbing the tires, kind of to see, and I took off my vent here, and you can see here it is, and it is bent. It should be going straight across here, and it's bent up and a little forward, and it's pretty bent. So I'm not sure how to go about this. Again, as long as it works, the strut, as I mentioned, I'm going to beat back, and over here I looked, seems like, and again you can see a little bit of a, you know, an angle to the tire. The car's also heavy, and I mean, she's been beat around. But here I cleared off the mud, and you can see it's got a good 2 inches or so there. Same thing, I'll beat that up in so it's more. But even here, and there's a little bit of mud in between there, but there's a, it's rubbing a little bit. Now this one here doesn't really need any attention. That little bit of rubbing shouldn't be a problem. And I think what happened is from taking, I probably took a shot on this side, and I probably took 3 or 4 shots on that one. It just kind of bent the axle enough up front that, again, the CV shaft still grab, everything still grab and works, but in particular over there, it's rubbing pretty good. So I'm not sure. We're gonna hold off in the back anymore. This side, as I mentioned, not a concern to me. The other side, though, we're gonna have to see what we got here. So we'll see. So just one last quick look here. We see what our issue is. We've got a bent strut going up, and then right there she's bent going up here. So it should be going straight up and down. It goes in and then up. You can see we also got a pretty bent bar there. This guy here, which I think is a steering arm, he's bent in there, which isn't really a big deal, but this guy here is. So a buddy of mine, he runs full-size mile derbies. He does all sorts of, I mean, torch work, motor work, etc. So we're going to haul her out there, and he's going to heat her up, and hopefully we can get her back pretty near straight, if not straight, and then that guy should be out of the way, and the tires should be good and clear, and again, she'll be ready to go. So a little bit of a scare there, if you will, referring to I don't know if I can fix this, but a couple guys helped me out, so we should be good to go. Good deal. So there she is, a couple days later, actually 2 days later from whenever I first said we're going to look to get this girl back moving. You can see the front right wheel is no longer completely pressed into the strut, but actually a little bit bent out. The way we were able to do it, had a buddy, Brad Bowles, shout out to him, help me. He's got torch as well as some heavy duty machinery that him and his folks, they own a small business in our area, and he really helped me out and got it straightened out. But you can see she's completely free now. A little bit, as I mentioned, top out more than normal, but it actually works best that way. That's why we didn't try to bend it back a little bit once we got it out, for how the vehicle's kind of bent up in the back and the front. So yeah, I'm going to actually switch the tires. This tire's got some damage to it. I'm going to put it in the back, and the one in the back that's not damaged yet, I'm going to put up here. And I'll make another video here showing what we were able to do. But as I said, she's got another run in her for sure now. That was the only thing I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to get it to where it wasn't completely dragging on that kind of steering arm and the strut, and actually be able to function for a couple minutes out there until she's no longer able to move. So she is absolutely back in the game, and we're just going to tidy a couple things up.